Um, uh, Hello, this is BIGJ XXX again. Yeah, if I decided to come back. I had to apologize to both Art and to Serious Eyes. Um, yeah, a lot of things was going on between me rebooting my Wi-Fi, restarting my the antivirus thing was actually blocking was slowing down my was slowing down the live stream, um, and also uh, there was some outside stuff I had to contend with. So I gave Art the email. I hope Art or Serious Eyes have received um, the email I just received. Okay, Art is here. Okay, mate, I see Art in the chat room. So has it been sent already? I hope so. I hope both of them or either one of them got it. So um, anyway, what I was going to talk about, the topic I want to talk about is, um, you know, so social media, the new rules that social media is doing um, the 2012 not 12 2020 election and the future of of online content. Um, like on the last live stream with Art was talking about, and if you want to, if he here, I hope he gets my email because I just sent it. So I don't know if I don't see if if not though, I can give him the link in the chat if he does not receive the email. So um, so I'm gonna put that in the chat for him if he doesn't see it. And my thing to him, well, you know what? I'll wait for him to come on then. So I'm gonna put the link in the chat for him or for Serious Eyes. So um so that'll way. And plus though, since the stream yards is not like it's not like Google Hangout, I do have a power just not let nobody on. So if any troll try to come on here, I'll just kick you out. So don't even try that. So yeah, I'm gonna do this. This is gonna be like an hour or two um, conversation because time restraints that I have. You know, I got issues of my own to deal with. The issue is that are we responsible with our freedom or are we not? Are we using so the social media? Are we using social media as a tool for what's right? Are we using this for nefarious reasons? And Ron Paul. Um, okay, I see Art coming in. Let's see.
What up, Big J?
What's going on? I hope everything. Hope the system is running well on my end and your end.
All right, all right. Yeah, so far I can hear you pretty better. I can hear you pretty well, so that's good.
Okay, that's good. Okay. So what is your opinion on back from the last previous hangout? What can you please restate your position?
As far as like social media and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, like I was stating before, it's social media is a really good tool, right? It's a great tool because for so long that other people were actually telling our story, you know. So we had so many gatekeepers of, that put us in a box, what it is to be black, what it is to be white, what it is to be Hispanic, all the stereotype that was telling a story, but not our true story. So therefore, when that was blown out of proportion, it was able to actually expose people with a state of mind that were contradictory to what the black experience is supposed to be. So therefore, it was a really good thing. But however, just like any tools, it can be used for good, but it can also be used for evil. So what we tend to have, just like where the intellectual dark web or people that has a certain wisdom were able to actually display their perspective onto social media platform, also have a lot of fuck shit that happen as well. And dysfunction of a lot of people were now on full display, and things that were supposed to be discussed behind closed door and everything like that, then were just being intensify the foolery basically. So you got the good and the bad. So I guess my what I could say is, like, being true to yourself, and then you build yourself a platform. Then if you build it, they will come. Like, hey, I didn't know about you until my girl sent me a link of your channel. And that's how I was able to find out a little bit about you and stuff. I hope you can hear me though, because I didn't hear nothing from you back.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I hear you, but now your speed was slowing back, and then the pick back up in about 5 seconds. But yeah, yeah. I'm just questioning the motive behind Copa. Is it something that is something that is needed, or something that is not needed, is intrusive, and if we, I wonder if it's the bad, what's the bad stuff, the nefarious things that's going on online. I wonder if that is more prevalent than all the good that's going on, because there's too much of this bullying, trying to harass. It's one thing having a little back and forth every now and then, but then
Hmm.
we have this straight up harassment going on. So uh, some people, how dare you be for Copa, if Copa or these guideline changes is ruling your freedom of speech. But my point is, okay, yeah, I see your point, but at some point you saw this, all these attacks on people's children and jobs and what may have you in this cancel
Hmm.
culture. Do they see that also as being intrusive?
Yeah,
I
I
see
mean,
you. I see you. I am serious on you too.
hey Siri, what up, babe?
Okay. Hey, Big
All
J,
right.
how you doing?
I'm doing
Um.
fine.
Sorry, did I
Well.
interrupt the conversation?
Oh, no, no, no. I mean, we were just discussing about the pros and the cons when it comes to social media and whatnot. Like, I understand exactly what you're saying, because, like, sometime when you have those who doesn't have a life, who has nothing to do, who are miserable themselves, and the only pleasure they get out of life is actually by trying to make other people miserable, right? So I get exactly where you're coming from, and
Hmm.
the thing about it though, right? Because when we're trying to put certain restriction on people, then the pendulum always swing the other way around. So it's never really balanced. So therefore, we might limit the speech of someone because he's a bully, right? But and the same excuse cannot
Right.
be used to limit the speech of someone that is not really a bully, but just because what they're saying doesn't coincide with the general norm, as we can see right now with cancel culture. And because I remember when like I was really heavy on social media, like in the early, back in the 2012 and whatnot. Like me and Siri, we used to love having debates online, right? That, to me, that was like
Right.
the epic of having full on discussion about religion, about whatever the case may be. And It was lovely. But at a certain point, it no longer becomes about a civil discussion. It no longer becomes about an exchange of ideology. It becomes about being right. So then people will try anything they could to silence any sort of opposition that doesn't align with their core belief system. But as you can see now, the left try to silence everything else, but they are eating each other up. It's like a circle firing squad, to where now if you are in the left spectrum of ideology, then you have to watch whatever you say, because the wrong thing that you say, you might spend the rest of your life apologizing. And then, but now, or you could go to the other extreme and be a guy like Donald Trump that just don't give a fuck. He just say whatever is on his mind,
Right.
and people love for him. People like him for
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doesn't it
And
remind you similar? Sorry, go ahead.
it.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Social media seems to be very similar to high school, where the ones that are the meanest tend to have the biggest crowds around them because other people are afraid to cross their path. So they'd rather join them than be the ones that are getting bullied. And social media is very similar, where the assholes, part of my French, tend to get the most attention and the most support because it almost feels like people are afraid to get in their path. And the leftists also do the same thing. I don't mean all left people on the left, but there's a big crowd, or like I said, the cancel culture, a big crowd of bullies that just look for targets. And in
mm-hmm.
debates, I think the thing that has changed between what was happening in the early 2000s to now is when you're having an actual conversation with someone, and you're making sense, even though you guys are disagreeing, but you're both making sense and having a logical adult conversation, there's always at least three people jumping in to stir trouble. And the conversation
Right.
becomes distorted, right? And the whole conversation is distorted, and nobody can have a decent adult conversation anymore because the child wants to make a whole bunch of noise and start calling people names.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But what do you think though that really started that a culture? Because if you go on a YouTube, and if you go on YouTube, you can look up William F. Buck. William F. Buckley predates all of us. But when he was back in the late '60s, early '70s, there was a TV show called the William F. Buckley Show, right? And he was this guy who was very, very conservative. He was on the right wing. So every time when he has people like the Black Panther Party folks, or some of your left wing people like Bob, like the Kennedy brothers, Bobby and Ted Kennedy back then. There was none of that. Oh, finger pointing like, oh, you're anti-American. I really want to know what changed the days of William F. Buckley to the Sean Hannity / Rush Limbaugh dynamic, because I think that's when partially when you have this this culture of uh, of say the discourse has been um, degraded.
Become very trusting.
What started that?
Are
um
you this?
well, from what I was able to see is that we have two sets of people, right? For this purpose, we have, like, let's say we have two types of people. We have those who actually set trends and those who actually follow trends. So when
Mm-hmm.
those political debates, when those spiritual or religious debate were having, it was not cool to be political. So then it was like something that was nerdy to do. So, and you have those who their sole purpose, food is attention. So they figured out like I can actually be somebody online by displaying a certain level of virtuous character, and then pretending to be I'm woke, I am I'm a good person, I'm this, I'm that, and then therefore to gain a following. So, but these people, when you actually get to know them, they are like some of the nastiest motherfuckers out there. Like nobody really wants to be around them, but they actually now use the platform of I'm woke, or I'm a representative of MGTOW, I'm a representative of feminism, I'm this, I'm that, but they're full of shit. So that's why now when people
Mm-hmm.
start calling out their bullshit, and they now build a brand based on foolery, so they have to protect it, they have to hide it. So what do? They just like start shutting down the other voices, the opposition of those whom which disagree with them. Like I remember when like I started seeing this trend on Twitter where guys were going around acting like they were very spiritual. They put on the cloth of the spiritual guru in order to get laid. Like girls, looking at them like, oh my god, you so wise. Oh my god. But little did they know this guy just using the facade of being this spiritual guru. Just actually, it was just like another form of try to get some ass. Really, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
So what do you
Actually,
think, Steve?
remember. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, yeah. I see. Just she just
Yeah,
Siri.
sorry, I had to switch my data.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Now
okay.
go ahead, BJ, I'm listening.
Yeah, it's kind of like though when you had those guys who call themselves the Hotep guys, who wear them onks and stuff. They was doing that just to
Yep.
yeah. You was right, Art. Because they was trying to they were using that to get laid and yeah, for female attention, and that also kind of fell, the floor kind of fell beneath them and everything. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Metadol said in chat room, "Yep, a guy can't be spiritual or act like a street pastor and then get laid." Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Pastor
Yep.
Cornbread. Yeah, but and the sad thing about social media, like I'm gonna use the MGTOW, right? Because that's how you saw me talking about the red pill and all that pill analogy that I'm getting excited.
Yep.
Yeah. See, I used to subscribe to the MGTOW philosophy until it's one thing to be philosophical about the relationships or the breakdown of relationships between men and women. But the problem with MGTOW for me is that it doesn't, even though it tells men to be protective of himself from from the nefarious nature of some women. It puts all women into a certain box, and instead of targeting some, it's the all. And
Mm-hmm.
and they don't they're a good woman and was a bad woman. So therefore, it sits there and creates a culture of misogyny. You know, I just heard a I was watching a panel the other night. It was like one
Yep.
of them the black masters uh, talking about single mothers. Don't you date a single mother and all that. And I'm shaking my head like, wait a minute, aren't you a son of a single mother? Yeah. And you're home with this single mother. Yeah. Well, aren't you? And I'm like, dude, you just proving your own point. So that's why I was like, or the Bitcoin philosophy is somewhat dead at this sense. If you're telling men to avoid single mothers, but yet you are of a single mother, and you witness single mother almost all the time. So, you know,
Mm.
I don't get it. It's
Yeah.
it's kind of like they cut off their face. That's that's what I seen anyway.
or you know, advising us we are married, right? And there has been a certain MGTOW gentleman who keeps demanding that we should get a divorce to prove that um, that marriages don't work.
Yo, it's you know what? It's like this, right? I mean, the road to hell is paved with attention, right? So the MGTOW philosophy, right? In theory, it makes a lot of sense. You know, the whole ritual ideology, which actually I encourage every man to at least read about it. You know, to get to learn a lot of the ideology that goes on with MGTOW. Because what MGTOW does, right, when it removes you away from this whole dating scene, dating aspect, so then you are placed in a solitude to which you actually now you get to observe human interaction. You get to learn human behavior from scratch, and not just from a category perspective, but as well as from an individual aspect as well. But what tends to happen now, just like every other movement, you have a group of motherfuckers that don't care about the ideology. All they want to do is actually use the said ideology as a justification to continue to do whatever they wanted to do in the first place. You know, to continue on the whole hookup culture, the whole pump and dump culture that got us here in the first place. Whereas once this whole feminism shit came through, right? You know, the whole the birth control pill and then the whole women liberation and all that shit, it was like a nuclear bomb that was dropped to the nuclear family. And we're now the offspring of a lot of dysfunctional relationship in which we are now trying to rebuild this shit back up. You know, not every marriage is gonna last. Not every marriage is supposed to last because just because someone, you know, just because a person grew up in a two-parent household doesn't mean that the environment wasn't toxic. Just because someone grew up in a single parent home doesn't mean that he's gonna be the scum of the earth type of shit. There are advantage and disadvantage on both aspects. What I'm trying to tell people is that, like, okay, learn from others' mistake, but also create your own path. You know, like anything that you do in life is a certain risk. You know, like when you create a business, you know, isn't it kind of funny now that since the the cultural aspect of the 1950s mentality of marriage, since that shit collapsed, marriage is like what, 50-50, like 50% chance of, you know, divorce, similar to how when someone set up a
Right.
business, it's like also like there's a 50% chance that this business also might fail. So the correlation there, it just proves to you that, like, hey, you have to be more conscious of who you actually allow in your surrounding, in your space. You know, so you're not always gonna get it right, but if you take calculated risk, you might be able to actually end up with someone that you're gonna enjoy their presence. You're gonna enjoy their company for a long time to come. But what these dudes want to make it seems like is like, well, I want to fuck all these ain't shit bitches while complaining that bitches ain't shit. And then I'm looking at them like, well, dude, isn't that the same thing as these female complaining that niggas ain't shit? But the only type of dudes that they deal with are these dudes that ain't shit. So what's the difference between you and a feminist? There isn't none. And that's the issue that I have with the so-called MGTOWs of today. Not the ideology, but the person that claim that they represent me.
Mm-hmm. A lot of them, a lot of these big time channels, you don't see the see. I come from the school of Stardust or the thinking ape, the one who started
Uh-huh.
MGTOW. I'm trying to remember his name at the moment. Um, the guy from the Caribbean. I'm trying to remember his name. Um, his name
Um,
was at a tip of my tongue. Um,
I'm not sure.
oh, what's his name? I mean him. Okay, it was like it was Stardust and people like Stardust and and the guy from the Caribbean. I've got it. I keep tip
Huh.
of my tongue. Okay, those two are philosophical. You look at it
Hmm.
from like they're talking from a philosophical point of view. They're not out here saying these things like, oh, don't talk to women, don't talk like someone in the chat room just say don't you're not supposed to talk about issues with women or issues or things like women you got to submit to me. You telling strange women that you don't know to submit
Hmm.
and this whole I got a pump and dump, but women ain't shit. And I'm like, and that whole pump and dump thing does that make any sense? I
Hmm.
watched one dude made a video talking about, hey man, man, these are single mothers, man, they ain't shit. Look at her, man. That is big. That big booty Brenda, and and she ain't this, that, and the third. And then on the side, she's talking about, yeah, man, I'm a pump and dump. Wait a minute, he created the stupid.
Mhm.
I'm looking at them, and when they make these videos, I'm like, and people inside that chat room is going rah 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 rah. I'm like, you serious? But it's
Uh,
very you know the I wish there was more people like your Stardust, you know uh, people like that being the forefront, Tal and the Manosphere talking about, but like we got too many fools and hypocrites talking, and and
mhm.
and, and they're actually destroying their own message. So
Yep.
Mhm.
anyway,
Well, it becomes very, very fanatical and
you got to
militant
talk
almost. You know.
right.
Mm.
Over here
Mm-hmm.
online it says that the two
Now,
people go by
like
the sorry. It says that the two people go by the aliases Solaris and Ragnar. So
Mm.
that's
I'm
what
not.
it
I'm
says.
not sure what you're talking about.
The MGTOW beginnings were by people, two men in the early 2000s,
Mm.
going by the online aliases of Solaris and Ragnar.
Which one of them got married to, or I mean, who's now engaged to this Asian chick?
I don't know. You want me to do the research now?
No, it's like because
Yes,
I've
I
been
okay,
wondering. I've been wondering about
trying
that. I I see it this way, right? A lot of these guys are standing on shoulders of
yeah, I'm
giants.
trying to remember.
The name of them, right? Yeah. So a lot of these guys, right? They are
Mm-hmm.
standing on shoulders of giants.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when you talk to them, right, they can repeat the ideology. They can repeat the scripture of MGTOW. They can tell you about the stats. They can tell you about a whole bunch of shit, right? But their message contradict their own actions. So then it's like, okay, well, if the dating scene, the whole dating aspect is so fucked up, then why are you doing the same thing that actually perpetuated this current era that we have in the first place? Shouldn't you then, if you want, shouldn't you then try to be the change that you want to see in the world?
Mm.
But they don't see it that way. To them, it's like, well, the world's fucked up. I'm gonna take advantage of it as much as possible, which is what the exact same thing that these narcissistic women are saying as well. It's like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna get a baby by this dude, and then I'm gonna milk the cow, I'm gonna use the system and all that shit to take advantage of it. So it's all about a group of people that's trying to take advantage of others while they're bitching about they're being taken advantage of. And to me, it's like that doesn't make any sense. It's like the whole bunch of snakes and vipers, you know, bickering at each other, and they're just like poisoning the whole pit. While those who actually with common sense, they just like sit back and wondering, like, okay, well, doesn't matter what you call yourself, MGTOW or whatever label you put on yourself, you are a toxic person, and I don't want to get to know you.
Mm.
You know.
Well, I don't think that the toxic. I really don't like using that term because it's kind of abused. But toxic people in these movements, they wouldn't be such a big problem if they didn't just get, themselves involved all the time in adult conversation. Because, when people are trying to find solutions and all of a sudden you just find this one asshole, pardon my French, who just, can't stop from pointing fingers at everybody, trying to stir up trouble and create arguments just for argument's sake. They have nothing to add to it. And women do it a lot too. They have nothing to add to the table. They just want to argue. They just want to stir up trouble. I don't know. I don't know if it's for attention. It's very narcissistic, but it's detrimental to any progress that might occur.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is for attention.
Oh yeah. Oh wait. Hold on. I got the name. Hold on. Barbarossa. That's referring to the guy from the Caribbean who started. He was on MGTOW back in the early 2000s. Yeah, Barbarossa. Yeah, because for me though, I follow what I used to follow with Barbarossa and Stardust. Stardust. He calls himself the thinking ape now. Change his YouTube name to the thinking ape now. But those are the two. Those are the two that I look to when it's concerning MGTOW. All these other guys who call them MGTOW and all that, they're just a copy of a copy of a copy. And every time you try to copy from the original, it gets worse. It worked for Bar and Stardust are the only. Huh?
I was saying it's the same thing with feminism. Like when feminism first started, some of that ideology made sense, but now when you listen to the women trying to take over, it's similar to MGTOWs. It's very militant and full of vitriol and nonsense. It's almost like they're two sides of the same coin.
Well, the good thing is like nothing lasts forever, and we need people that actually we need those type of narcissistic people that comes through and actually bring an end to whatever that's going on. Because it's like, let's face it, MGTOW was necessary, right? Yet at the same time, everything comes to an end. So then therefore, once you took what you needed out of MGTOW, then you need to, like, keeping the label MGTOW in itself means that you're not going your own way. You're simply just gathering together a whole bunch of group of people that just be like, oh, I'm MGTOW now, so I don't have anything else to do. The personal journey ends once you actually box yourself in the whole MGTOW label. You understand?
And they push each other too, don't they?
Yeah.
Like if you
it's kind of more.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Go ahead. I'm serious. Go ahead, SyriEyeS.
Okay, I was saying it's
Yeah. No. I was telling you to go ahead.
Okay. It seems like it's a circle filing squad, right? As well, because if you subscribe to feminism or subscribe to MGTOW, but you veer a little bit away from the designated path, they attack you in groups.
Yeah.
saying you can't be MGTOW because you're this and that. You can't be feminist because you're this and that. That's not feminism. That's not MGTOW. That's this. It's ridiculous. You're eating your own people. you know. So
Yeah.
it's being destroyed from the inside out, and that behavior is it
Right,
turns
right,
logic
right.
away.
Hmm. So, like, how long you been doing YouTube for,
Right.
Big J?
It's just it's kind of like what I've been on YouTube. This account has been on since November of 2006. Been here on six, but I started making videos since I want to say 2013 is when I started making videos. So yeah, I've been on here for like, well, if you want to see as a content creator, I've been on here what, almost 7 years now, seven
Okay.
8 years now. So yeah, um, yeah, that's how long I've been on here. So
You watch all.
how long ago YouTuber or content creator?
Mm, I'm not sure. Like, I guess I've been doing this for like what 2 years, maybe.
Turn
Siri.
around that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something around that, right? Yeah, I was, pretty much just like, posting stuff for like shits and giggles, and then I still don't take it serious, because it's not really a priority to me. I like have my moments where I would post something almost every day, and I would take a break for like a week or two, and I would go at it again. So my growth is very very small because I'm not like I don't I have this love and hate relationship when it comes to social media. So sometimes it's good to just like sit back and just like take a break, do what you need to do, and then, like, when you have ideas sparks into your head, then you actually can refresh yourself and just put stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So what so then what is your thought now when it comes to today's dating scene, guys? Both of y'all.
Right. Jersey Hammer said in the
I'll let
uh,
MJ
I think I
question.
think the I think the dating scene has changed because well, from what I see, it's changing the approach of men because usually men are, yeah, I believe that the dating scene has changed because based upon how men or young men at that, it changed how men approach women. I think, and some men are not fine tuned. They still have rough edges around them, so they don't know to talk to women. And I also noticed too from the MGTOW community, a lot of them don't even know how to talk to a woman. So some of these true force loneliness guys, those from the incels, they don't even know how to talk to women. You sit there and have on the panel. If you have a panel right now, and you have half of women on here, and you have MGTOWs on here, they don't even know how to talk to a woman because they don't see women as human beings. They just see women on this ancient archaic mindset. Like, man, I don't talk to women, or I don't argue with women. I don't discuss problems with women. See, they actually forgot that women are human too. You know,
Mhm.
they don't that part. So that's why uh, that's why a lot of these guys are not going to get ahead in anything. They're not
Yeah,
going to win any damn thing, as far as
yeah,
I'm concerned. So
Uh,
You know, and I think that to counter that, because I think you're absolutely right about the men. And I think the problem with a lot of women nowadays is they assume all men are the same. So if they have a bad experience, they
Is my mic working or?
yeah, it's
yeah,
working. I can hear you.
okay. I think there is just a bit of a delay.
So well, anyway, I think I am serious. I just wanted to talk.
Yeah. I was saying that I think you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think what's going on with women is that they're taking their I think the issue with today modern dating is it's too fast and they're part too many people are screwing too many people. And with each person that crosses their path, there is baggage. So the more people you in a relationship with for the week or for the 3 months or however long you want to count it, it causes damage to that person's psyche. And then moving on to the next person, that's going to bring the trauma from the past experience to the new experience. And a lot of times with people who are hurt, as the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. So because someone else hurt me, I'm going to go and hurt the next person. And I think a lot of women have that perception. Because they have been hurt by a couple of men in their life, they assume all men are bad. So then all of a sudden they become the villain and they do the hurting themselves. They hurt the men because it's this urge for vengeance that doesn't make sense.
Mm.
You know, they won't hurt the person that hurts them, but they'll go to the next person that might be a good one and hurt that person instead. And it's a perpetual cycle that I don't know how it's going to stop if people don't start, realizing that maybe you need to just take a little break from others and figure yourself out first, which is what I liked about MGTOW. MGTOW, the ideology did say, take a break and focus on yourself. And that is a good point.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I think that's it.
Like, I think some of the things that tend to fascinate me about the guys that are very militant is like you hear things like I'm looking for if a girl's not a virgin, then I don't want to I don't want to she ain't gonna be wifey material and shit. And I'm thinking, I'm like, dude, how are you gonna find a virgin in a brothel? How are you gonna find a virgin in a in a whorehouse or at a club or something like that? It's like that's ridiculous. And there's like so many concept that makes no fucking sense, you know. And to me, it's like this is how I see it, right? Um, a lot of people want respect without earning it. Respect comes from a combination of admiration and fear, right? So if you have certain values that people admire from you, you have, let's say, your words are your bonds, you have good work ethic, you have a moral standard, you have a lot of these things to which people can admire that from you. You can be a monster but choose not to act upon it, and that itself is a level of fear to which I my woman knows that I have certain qualities that she respects about me. I mean, she admires about me, but also there's this underlying fear of, if she cross me, then there are certain repercussions. You know,
Consequences.
there are consequences. So then, therefore, it's like I have, you know, I can do whatever I want. I am free to do whatever I want, but I am not free from the consequences that derive from my actions. And I think a lot of time that we want to be able to do whatever the fuck we want, and then not expect karma to catch up to us. And I think that's where this whole civilization's coming apart. Whereas, you know, I want to just, continue the same cycle and thinking that shit's gonna change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Uh, Now, there is a delay sound, so to allow me to say what I'm saying, I'm going to mute myself. Um, Now there is this, we have, though they're on YouTube, we have the so-called pro-black community or the conscious community types
Mhm.
and you got those who sit there and create these cliques among themselves and target, go after black people who are in interracial relationships. So what is your thoughts on those who try to tell other people who are in interracial relationships what to do? You should divorce because you have a non-black spouse. You should be doing it. Well, what is your opinion on that? Because I'm seeing a tide of that, and then also I see the attacks on
My thing is this, right? I didn't marry a white woman. I married a great woman that happened to be white. So there, like, you have those who are in a relation, like who are in interracial relationship, and they go out of their ways to attack where they come from. And to me, I think that's wrong because it's like if you are in a relationship with a white girl or with a Hispanic girl, whatever, then there's really no need to go out of your way to attack black women or or wherever you come from. Because to me, it's like if you are happy with who you are, with who you with, then it should have been a blessing the fact that you didn't, you know, a lot of these bras turn you down, right? So, and like we become attracted to who are in our proximity over a long period of time. So then I didn't just hang out in the hood. I didn't just hang out and just with black people only. I hang out with a whole variety of people, in the suburb or in the hood or wherever the case may be. So then therefore me meeting my girl had nothing to do with the fact that I was fascinated of, her skin tone, you know, because that was nothing new to me. However, she had shown me something different as well as something that I could find that is similar to my culture. Because like I remember when I first picked up Siri, right? We was about to like chill whatever, and then she was a manager at a pizza place, and the first thing she asked me is like, "All right, you want some pizza? I can just throw you one in the oven real quick and stuff like that." And I'm like, and to me, it's these little things, right? You don't really expect because when dealing with those who are very entitled, then especially female, they expect you like, oh, if you're gonna come pick me up, you gotta provide all the entertainment, you gotta provide a whole bunch of shit. But there was this fair exchange of, all right, well, if you don't want some pizza, I'm gonna put some gas in your car. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And to me, it's like, huh, interesting. So it's like if your sole purpose, if the only thing you're concerned about is a skin color, then you're gonna miss out a lot in life. And to those people that are very like interracial, the question I should ask them is like, are you in a happy relationship right now? You know, what do you think, Siri?
I don't really entertain other people's opinion about my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, people on the internet have a lot of balls and they say a lot of things, but when you actually meet them in real life, it's very rare for them to actually back up what they say. So I don't usually get very bothered by it. Um, like Art said, I'm not with him because he's black. I'm with him because he's a great man that happens to be black. Am I supposed to just give up and divorce my husband because he doesn't fit the persona that someone else decided I should have? That doesn't make sense. It's not even logical. You know? Um, I don't think we should choose who we want to spend our life with based on something that person cannot change. They cannot change. They have no control. We have no control over our skin color. I have no control of where I was born or to what parents I was born. So am I supposed to use that as the reason behind every decision in my life? I choose to rather focus on the things that I have control over. So that way I have control of the decisions in my life and what happens to me in my life, rather than letting life happen to me and then finding any reason to find fault to it. And when it comes to people who have an issue with my relationship, they're usually miserable. So I'm not miserable. So I'm not going to let their misery infect me. I'm not, because it doesn't make sense.
Mm.
I wish them all the luck in their life and their relationships and move on. No?
What's your perspective when it comes to interracial relationship? Hello,
My
are
my
you there,
my
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 friend?
opinions of it. I see nothing.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I see not. I see not. Oh, I see nothing wrong with interracial relationships. I mean, it's all about locations. I was trying to explain this to someone who's part of that so-called pro black community on why people interracial relationships. It's all about location. I mean, I'm talking about on myself. On myself is most about local location. If you are in a majority if you're in a place where most black people that surround you are are family, right? Or kin to you in some type of way, you're not going to be sitting there trying to date your own cousins. You're going to most likely you're going to gravitate towards the outside, whoever is on the outside. So you're closer to people who are white or Hispanic. So you're going to see that more and more. And I'm not from I'm from I'm from more of a rural area. So you're not going to find that many women who have the same racial identity as I am. And some of these people on YouTube, they need to be mindful that there are black people outside of the inner city. They need to be more mindful of that. And also, some of us come from military bases or military bases where they may be the only black child there. Well, who is Tyrone and who is Keisha going to talk to? Are they gonna be all by themselves? It's kind of like what the Bible says. No man, no woman should be alone, right? So they need to understand that part. So anyway, I wish people would mind their damn business. That's what I think. Stop worrying about what other two people are doing. So
Mm.
anyway, on with that one because yeah, but I do be seeing this. I do be seeing this trend now. Oh let's go after biracials, or let's go after people who are mixed, or let's go after people who are this, that, and third. And that all came from that ADOS thing when a old girl talking about when she was promoting ADOS, talking about only full blooded blacks should get reparations. But wait a minute, you are a quarter white, so therefore you don't get anything. It just this this negativity
Mm.
is so pervasive that
Hmm. You there? I hope you didn't get cut off again. Well, it always amazed
I
me
put
when
myself
I
back on
see
mute.
the some. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. See, like it always amazed me when sometime when I see some of the most light skinned motherfuckers are the most pro black. And to me, I'm looking at it. I'm like, dude, at some point in your generations, somebody, you know, was swirling, right? And it's like you might have let's say, okay, like a guy like Tariq Nasheed, where he's very pro black, yet at the same time, like his woman is very light skinned. And to me it's like, how can you be like, are you pro black, or are you just pro pussy? Because some of these guys, like, I'm not gonna get on the female, 'cause it's obvious with the females, right? A lot of these girls actually are very interracial, especially when it comes to the female. It's I see the main cause about, like, not being selected, right? So I get that part. I get that emotional um discharge that they have when it comes to
Horrible word.
yeah,
Discharge. That's a
but
horrible.
yeah, the that I don't want to say hatred, but that envy that they might have because they were not selected, or they did not have the chance to select their pick of the ladder, right? I get that part. But when it comes to, when we're looking at some of the men that are very, like, if they come across a guy that's in an interracial relationship or interracial marriage like that, right? And they are very against it. And I'm looking at them like, dude, every black female you come across with, you only pump and dump them. You might have like 3 or 4 kids, different baby mamas. How come you haven't wifed none of these chicks?
Mm.
And then you want to fucking give me shit because I'm in an interracial relationship? Come on now. Like, what sense does that make? Shouldn't you lead by example? If you want to show me the beauty of black love, or whatever you want to portray at, just show me. Don't tell me about what I should do when you're not doing the same thing. Like, I want you to wife up one of your baby mamas or something like that. Or, like, show me how it is, how beautiful black love is. And the thing about it though is, like, there's nothing wrong with being pro black, right? And there's a lot of guys out there. Like, there's a lot of black families out there. They handle their business. They do what they need to do. My best friend, he's Haitian. Him and his wife, they are building shit together. And you can see, like, and their kids are better off being raised in a marriage, or in a relationship and stuff like that, where
Bad
their
house.
kids are better off. But a lot of these pro blacks, I'm sorry, like the so-called pro black, they don't do anything that would advance what they're preaching about. And to me, if you want to bring forth, the betterment of your people, then you should start with yourself, with the individual. Which means that, all right, I'm gonna step away from the pump and dump culture, and I'm actually gonna find me a woman that is good to me, and I'm good to her, and then we're actually gonna make a family together. So then, therefore, then I can grow my wealth and pass it down to my children. So my children will be better off than when I was a kid. And so far, that's not the conversation that is happening there, because they are too focused on those who decide to date outside of their race. You know, and it's like I said, it's like there's nothing wrong with whoever you choose to be with, but choose a person that's not just gonna be a chapter in your life. That's that's one of the main characters that's gonna be there for the long run. You know?
Or just whatever criteria you have is you're actually looking for someone, not just looking for the next leg.
Exactly. There,
Right.
BJ.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I just put myself back off mute. Um, yeah, yeah, it's I kind of see this as a hustle. Like just like what dudes do start in the chat room. I see it's it's either it's like half of it is a hustle, and the other half is this quasi militant uh, mental illness type thing. I don't know. It's weird, and their judgments are so um, uh, how they judge people it's on some very minute level that it makes that it stupefies, you know, stupefying. You know, I mean, it just I find it amusing and sad at the same time, though. So,
Mm.
um, so anyway, let me move on to the facts on the 2020 election. I just want to know how, because like Twitter has already made a rule like 2 weeks ago that they was going to change the um, uh, they're going to delete on Twitter. If you had used your Twitter in over 2 years, they're gonna start deleting it. Then I and then with this what's going on YouTube, what is your do you think that that's have something to do with the 2020 election or not? Or
Uh,
have I already asked this already or not?
no, not yet. No, you didn't ask
Hold
that
on.
yet.
Yeah, yeah. So what is your opinion? What's going on Twitter and what's going and how the 2020 election
Um,
concerning.
I think like 2016 has proven that a lot of people didn't have. I mean, elite media or those the gatekeepers, I like to call them. It's like they didn't have a grip on things as they thought they did when it comes to the flow of information. And I think if a lot of people voted for Trump out of spite because they were getting tired of this whole woke culture. They were getting tired of everybody being so offended by everything. They were being tired of so many bullshit that you seen, and then it was like they voted for an asshole out of spite. It's like I describe Donald Trump as this, right? Let's say you go to let's say you go to the grocery store, and then you see this kid throwing a temper tantrum, right? And then and the mom is there, don't know how to freaking calm the situation, offering the kid all type of candies and all this other shit, and the kid just keep throwing on the tantrum, keep throwing on the tantrum, and then everybody at the grocery store just get annoyed at this kid that is misbehaving. And all of a sudden, the dad came out of the parking lot, walked into the grocery store, and grabbed that little kid and spanked the shit out of him. And the whole store just applauded. And that's how I see Donald Trump. It's like, is he an asshole? Yes, he's a hell of a fucking asshole. I didn't vote for him last year. But the thing is, like, every time I see him, like, make people lose their shit, I just laugh at it. And to me, that's quite entertaining. I wouldn't mind having that for another 4 years. Oh, what's your thought on that, Siri? What do
Well,
you think?
the whole Twitter thing, I think what's going on is I do think a lot of it has to do with the election, but I also think a lot of it has to do with server size. They're having, they are huge, and it's not that easy as a company to maintain so many dead
Yep.
accounts. I think it would be a good idea if they close accounts that haven't been used for at least 2 years, because I think one of the things that occurred in the 2016 election was a lot of bots and a lot of fake accounts and a lot of old accounts that haven't been used that were just basically hacked and used to spread propaganda, whether it was for the Democrats or for the Republicans, because I believe it's two-sided. I think both sides play this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like Art said, a lot of people voted for Trump to spite, yes, but it wasn't just to spite the culture of hurt feelings, but I think it was also to spite the fact that during the Democratic primaries there was a lot of shifty things happening in order to get Hillary on that stand, and a lot of Democrats got pissed off. A lot of Democrats got pissed off. The Bernie or bust. They got really angry at what was happening in the Democratic, in the DNC, and they used their vote as a protest against what the Democrats were doing. And I do believe that Trump will be reelected again because the DNC are doing the same exact thing again. You know, I think they were using Russiagate to stop the Republicans from doing what they were trying to accomplish in their presidency. The same way that, you know, the Republicans were using the birth certificate, Obama's birth certificate, to try and stop the Democrats from getting their things accomplished. So it's both sides playing this game. But I do think that the Democrats are trying to play shifty games. This impeachment thing is because, you know why I think the impeachment thing is happening? Because they don't actually have a platform. None of the Democratic candidates actually have a policy. When you listen to them, they don't actually have a policy at all. And they're saying that Biden is their top choice, but have you seen Biden? He's scary. Okay, not scary because I'm afraid he's gonna start a war with the entire world, but he's scary because I think he's got Alzheimer's. Okay, I think he's senile, and having that president might be a little bit worse than Trump. Trump is an asshole. Okay, Trump is an asshole. He's not presidential at all, and I think that's what a lot of people like about him. He's not pretending to be above being a regular human being, you know? Mm-hmm. He's not. He's got faults. And I think when I talk to a lot of Democrats about it, because I'm not, sorry.
Hold on a second, babe. All right. What were you saying, BJ?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Like, I'm not really a fan of Trump.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I do believe that the policies he has are working, especially the domestic policies. His foreign policies aren't much different from what the Democrats were doing. But his domestic policies do seem to be working for the American people. Could he, you know, maybe get off Twitter and behave a little bit more presidential? Probably. But when I talk to Democrats and they hold the position of the president almost to the standard of a king or a god, and their biggest complaint with Trump is, but the way he's acting, oh my God, a president shouldn't act this way. And I'm like, but you act the same exact way behind closed doors. You know, I love how a lot of my Democratic friends want to virtue signal, but I grew up with them. They're assholes. They're mean as hell. A lot of them are racist. Okay, there is a big difference between being an asshole racist and being a racist in the sense where they treat Black people like they're dumber. And they almost have to dumb down their language when they talk to Black people because they assume that the Black person will understand. Or when a Black person is trying to explain something, and then this white girl from freaking suburban Connecticut will jump in and be like, what they're trying to say is this. Like, they're speaking English. We can understand what they're saying. You don't have to speak for somebody else. And that is my big issue with the Democrats. is their perception that other people that are different from them are dumber. Mm. And it's almost as if they expect people, the politicians, to dumb their behavior down in order to appease their perception of what other people are supposed to be. And I don't agree with that. You know, if he's an asshole, be an asshole. At least you get to see that he's an asshole. You know, I mean, look at Clinton. Clinton was playing the saxophone while somebody else was playing his saxophone, you know? So it's like, was he really that great? I mean, he had a great domestic policy, right? Clinton really did. He created surplus. But he was an asshole himself. There's a lot of stuff on with the Clintons that people like. When one thing I used to hate during the 2016 election, thing that really I'm a liberal, right? I am a liberal, but I'm a classic liberal. I'm not an SJW. I'm not this weird leftist thing that Democrats have morphed into. And one thing that really made me just hate the Democratic side during the last election was their demand for Hillary, where it was her only argument, her only policy, and this is what everybody was pushing, especially on Twitter, was she's not Trump and she's a woman. I will not vote for someone just because she has a vagina. Okay? I will vote for someone because their policy makes sense. So using her private parts as the reason why someone should vote for her was just it blew my mind. And it seems like the Democrats nowadays are doing the same thing. They don't have a solid policy that people can, can get behind.
Yep.
All right. My rant is over.
Well, I actually enjoyed it though. By the way, no, but if we gonna talk about Hillary Clinton, she was a failure as Secretary of State. The only reason why though she was Secretary of State under Obama was that so they could keep tabs on her because he can sit there and somewhat control. I keep my enemies closer. I keep my friends closer. I keep my enemies closer. That was the main reason why though she was Secretary of State, so Obama could sit there and have her out, kind of have her out of the way, so that so that he could do what he wanted to do or try to do it. But she actually really fucked up American foreign policy. Like when with the ISIS issue, the deal with the Russians, the stuff that was going on in the Middle East and even in North Korea, she actually messed that up. So that and also about Joe Biden. Joe Biden nibbling on his wife's hand. I don't know if y'all saw that when Joe Biden on his wife's hand. I'm like, what is this shit? That didn't make any sense. Show a picture of her raising her hand. He's out there nibbling on her fingers and shit. I'm like, what is this? Is this some weird sexual shit he's trying to perform, or he has Alzheimer's? He forgot this is the middle of daytime and they're not in the bedroom. I'm like, what I'm saying, that didn't look right. But Joe Biden did, man. You don't sit there and nibble on your wife as she's giving a speech on your behalf. That didn't look right. Shit.
And that's what's scary about
I'm telling you,
this
man.
year's
I'm like,
election.
man, am I watching a Pornhub video? Is this a Pornhub?
Oh, no, that was. But with Biden, there is a lot of conspiracies about Biden because he's got this weird fetish about touching young people. And that conspiracy has been out there for years, and a lot of people are just excusing it, like, oh, he's just being like your uncle. It's the creepiest thing ever. It's just creepy. I don't know. I can't picture him being behind, in that Oval Office. I can't.
See, that's also one of the problems that I have with the so-called left, right? Is because they would have one set of standard to to those they consider their allies, and then whole different sort of standard to those they actually see as their enemies and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, take the whole Ukraine scandal for instance, right? So the accusation against that is levied against Trump is because he used quid pro quo to sort of force the Ukrainian to investigate Burisma, or Biden's son. But wasn't it Biden, on tape, saying things like, he wanted to withhold aid from Ukraine until they actually fired a certain prosecutor. Turns out the same prosecutor was actually investigating Boris, what is it, the gas company, which the son is a
Charisma.
board member of. So and it's like when you bring that up and the left want to make it seem like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that, or they want to be like, well, we're not talking about Biden, we're talking about Trump. Well, was it okay when Biden did it, but it's not okay for Trump to do it? And it's like this whole double standard to me is like, whatever you're gonna do, you gotta hold people to the same standard.
Mm-hmm.
The standard that you're willing to follow, which is why this whole cancel culture becoming a joke now. So it's because those who preach, who try to cancel others based on their perspective, when you actually look at their history or when you go deep enough in their Twitter page or their Twitter feed, you find out a whole bunch of racist shit. And then now they have to backpedal. There was this journalist that he wrote a story over a guy that actually was able to raise, I think, like $1 million or something like that for children's hospital. And then in that and then in that story, this chick went few years back. I think what was 7 or 10 years back on this
Did
guy's.
I think it was a male that did it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, this dude, like this journalist, went
He's
like
a bit
five,
fruity though, so you know.
yeah, like 5 to 10 years back on this guy's Twitter page just to find out some cruel jokes that he said when he was in college, and just to actually put that out there as if like even though he raised money for he raised money for children's hospital, he's a bad person because he said some dumb shit when he was young. And the same journalist, when they went and check out his history, his Twitter history, he said worse things than that. And it's
Did
like,
he get fired? I think he got fired after.
yeah, he did get fired. So which is why like the whole cancel culture is like they're just shooting themselves over time. Like um righteousness always succeed. No matter how you want to twist it and all this shit, bullshit always come down. The veil always gonna be lifted. You know?
Yeah, it's that fake
Yeah, yeah.
virtue signaling where holier than thou mentality, but don't look in my closet.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the whole Jay what's his name, Joy Behart on the View, right? She's out there trying to lecture people about Trump, but wait a minute, you talking about, oh, Trump is a racist, Trump is that, but wait a minute, Joe Behart, there was a photo of her grabbing Rob and Williams' dick at the award ceremony when he wasn't even uh well, because it actually showed her grabbing his nuts like, come here, and he was just have to be walking by, Yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, wait a minute though, but you mad at Trump for talking about grabbing women by the pussy, but you was grabbing men by the dick. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, what are you talking about, Joe Behart? And then the man, she got on the View the other day, right, and talking about, oh, Trump is, he's so racist, he's a white supremacist. Well, wait a minute, Joe, wasn't you in blackface back in 1995?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, y'all, I mean, the hypocrisy is at an all time high.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Geez.
But
It's kind of like that Bible verse. Kind of like that Bible verse. Why you worried about the speck in somebody else's eye when you got a log jam in yours? Come
yeah.
on. You are the wrong person to talk about that shit. And Whoopi
Mm.
Goldberg, don't even get me started on Whoopi. She talking about, oh, Donald Trump doing this to little kids. Oh, he hang around with the Epstein man. But wait a minute, Whoopi, wasn't you defending Roman Polanski, who had raped that girl from Little House on the Prairie, and he moved to France to
Yeah.
escape the justice system here? I mean, come on, Whoopi Goldberg, shut the fuck up. That don't make any sense. That don't make any sense at all. But anyway,
Uh,
let me get my rant because I'm saying
Well,
little
it's
too
like
damn much.
it's similar to that Mark Ruffalo that recently was complaining
Man,
about
every
capitalism.
time I watch The View, I mean,
oh, I think he's going off again.
No, no, no. There's a delay.
Uh,
I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
see, I think it is necessary. You there? You back? All right, but see, which is why I think it is necessary. Or we have all the social media platform that makes it almost impossible to bury those stories, to actually point out the hypocrisy of some of these people, because they, let's say 10 years ago, or yeah, let's say 10 years ago, a lot of these things wouldn't be able to come out to light. As who would have thought that Justin Trudeau, like, would that story be trending online as much as him being on blackface, or the whole Whoopi Goldberg, Whoopi Goldberg hypocrisy, and all so many people his hypocrisy. If the the elite social media, the elite media were the one that was running the show, and then they would be able to actually bury all these stories. So then, therefore, Trump would then definitely look like the asshole, the worst of the worst, because we wouldn't have anything to compare it to. But when
Mm,
we actually take a look at those people that are so vocal about criticizing Trump, or criticizing conservatism, and then when you're looking at their track record, you're like, ooh, dude, you fucked up, you know and we're able to put that on display and actually show the world, like, what type of person that are preaching this whole good gospel, you know
mm. Well, it's very hypocritical, isn't it? And I think one of the reasons that the news cycle is so extreme, trying to trigger people's emotions as much and anger as much as possible, is because the media is losing its hold on people.
Mhm.
They used to be able to control the narrative. Now that narrative is slipping out of their hands. So in order for them to be able to get the views and get their money and get their funding, which is basically the main goal for them, yeah, as they call it, the Trump bump. The more they talk about the stupidity of Trump and the hatred of Trump, the more hatred they you know stimulate in society. The more people watch their shit. I mean, but what they're not realizing is they're putting people on the brink of insanity.
Mm.
People are losing their minds over this stuff, and they're snapping over things that we used to be able to not, to respond a little bit more mildly to. Now people are reacting very violently and very angry because their nerves have been put on edge for
Yeah.
so long and constantly. It's this outrage that they're promoting, outrage over any little tiny thing.
Well, I think the hold on a second. Let's see. Big J's back. You back, Big J?
Yeah.
Oh,
I put myself on mute though. That's all I was doing. I put myself
Oh,
all right.
okay. Because
Yeah,
there's a delay.
because like
But
we don't
when
want to, like, be the one that just, like, pretty much take over your show and stuff like that. And then if you have something to say, like, be like, oh shit, is it, like, something wrong with
no,
the
go
connections?
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think the outrage
No,
you'll be seeing, like the craziness that we start seeing, is because when when the mind try to hold two opposite, two contradictory term as the truth, then it creates this cognitive dis,
cognitive dissonance.
yeah, cognitive dissonance in the mind. It's like, I'll give you an example, right? There was this thing in London. Somebody was actually going out and actually posting notes on, like, polls and stuff like that, that says Islam is right about women.
Hmm.
So then, and when you're looking at the left spectrum of the media, it's like, you can't criticize Islam, because that will make you Islamophobic. You can't
Mhm.
criticize women because that will make you sexist. So then you saying that Islam is right about women. So now the thing is like what is that statement mean? Is it a threat? Is it like what are you trying to say? Because we all know that the freedom that Western women enjoy in this country would not be tolerated in any Muslim countries, in any
Mhm.
Islamic states. So then when you say Islam is right about women, so are you saying that Islam is right for subjugating women? If you say that, then you are criticizing Islam, you know? And that's the double, like, and that's the type of thought that actually fuck up people's mind to
But
which they don't know how to react to certain statements.
but
That's why,
that's because but
yep,
that's because they don't actually have their own belief system. They don't have an
hmm
opinion. They go with the
exactly. They go with the
what
flow.
and the problem with something like this is, oh my God, who do I defend? And I think that, and then your mind snaps because it
hmm
can't,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
can't function.
exactly. So, sure. What was the question I had for Big J?
Right, right, right.
I had a question for you, BJ, but I just it slipped my mind right now.
Right.
But
What was it about?
Yeah,
I don't even
but that's
remember.
why though I most what was it about? Uh, um, well, that's why I mainly read newspapers instead of watching news because at least so you don't hear you can see you don't see the slant as much on a newspaper page. You can BS being as you're reading it. Also you can also watch like foreign news like BBC, but not BBC as much anymore because BBC's in that British the Brexit
Yep.
disaster and all that. Oh yeah, and since I brought up Brexit, what's your feeling about Blacksit? Because I don't know, man, if you ever watched my video of me following Tree of Logic and her and Candace Owens,
hmm
that Candace Owens issue, that's one of those issues why social media is poisonous because the personality used social media to dox everybody into that person actually made a website, doxed everybody, and then used the information to get on CNN and Fox and create this black woman, I'm for Trump, and that's why Trio Logic was pissed off at Candace Owens because that website she made. And I remember that website back in 2015, 2016. That website was around. So, um, hold on.
hmm
Dude, so I say whoever came up with the idea to do that sign was awesome. What sign you referring to? Anyway.
Oh, Islam is right about women.
So what is y'all's opinion of Brexit
Oh,
and also
Brexit.
Blacksit as well?
Oh, yeah. With Brexit, because we lived in Europe for a while. Well, my girl's still in Europe. But when I stayed over there for
No,
like
I was referring
7 years.
to the Brexit issue.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
which is what I'm addressing. It's like with Brexit, right? Like I understand where they're coming from. Because when you have an influx of when you have an influx of immigration, so then it kind of takes away from the it takes away. I mean, it becomes more of an employer's market, right? So then, therefore, labor laws and all the shit that some of the protection has become gets removed. The protection that actually supposed to benefit the native of the land now gets stripped away because there's more options for the employers now to hire someone that either barely speak English, that barely speaks the language, or that barely understand their right. So they can actually then abuse the immigrants that works for them. You know,
Mm.
on the other hand, you also have the flip side of that where um those who are born in the country already, let's say for example England, English people, right? They would look at things like they would not want to do certain jobs because to them that's below them. Like a British person don't want to clean toilets at the airport or anything like that because to them that's like I ain't doing that shit. Similar to how Americans won't do that. But they will bitch about Mexicans or whoever is doing the job that they don't want to do, and then saying that they're stealing their job. So there's two sides of it. But as far as Brexit, there's a huge influx of the migrant that's coming from the Middle East and stuff like that, and the different cultural clash becomes very dangerous to the people that lives in that country, and therefore, if it's hard to have democracy or some of the freedom that you enjoy when and your next door neighbor or your neighborhood is slowly changing into like Sharia law, to where there's a lot of stories is Muslim people, they were like bashing out bars, they crashing out windows because to them it's against their belief system to actually to for people to just walking around being drunk and shit like that, right? So I get why Brexit is necessary, and the people that oppose Brexit is it's not really good for those who already live in Europe that can come and go out of England as they please. That kind of messed them up. And also with the expat communities, those who actually have houses in other countries such as Italy or whatever, the wealthy middle class in England, now they still want to be able to have that privilege to maintain their lifestyle in various countries. But once you close the borders in England, it makes it a little hard for them to actually continue to live abroad whenever they want. And as far as Blackset, like I like Candace Owen, but I think sometimes she goes overboard when it comes to being a cheerleader for the Republicans, because I kind of have this vibe from her that she kind of preached like as if racism don't exist at all. And to me, that's false. It's like because we do have certain level of systematic racism. Because when we're looking at the difference between the punishment with crack versus cocaine, whereas like for crack you might get like a lot of time in prison, but cocaine you probably get like fucking probation, right? Because cocaine is a rich man's drug, and at that time, who was the majority of people that was doing crack? It was just like poor minorities.
Or selling it.
Yeah, they were selling it or doing it and shit like that, right? So, and also when we're looking at the crack epidemic, the way it was treated versus the opioid epidemic, the way it's being treated is like
Mhm.
these. So to me, that's clearly shows you systematic racism right there, because they're not going around locking white junkies up. They're not. So as far as Brexit, it is a good idea because when you blindly give your vote to a party that don't even cater to you, the only thing that they do to gain your vote is actually show up at a urban station, actually pull hot sauce out of their bags, then you have a fucking problem. So to me, if it shows that now Democrats or Republican have to work to get your vote now, then it actually brings you have more options to negotiate about what you need out of your candidate.
Mm. Now, when Hillary did that the hot sauce in the bag
Hot
on
dog.
that radio station, I knew right then I knew right then she was going to lose. When she did that, hot sauce in the bag, it was over with. I knew it was over with for her. I knew it was over with because I like, man, she did what? What? And and then I was like, wait a minute, okay. Then like 2 months passed, right? So I forgot all about that, right? So
Mm.
I said, well, this election gonna be close because and then when she also fell out during that 9/11, when she fell out on that van, I said, oh shit, it's over with. And then though, when she picked that goofy ass running mate of hers, I knew, that was like 3 strikes and her ass was out. Man, but that hot sauce one, oh, the biggest one. You know, that was the biggest one though. So
Yeah.
yeah, I got
Well,
hot sauce in the bag, and everybody was like, "Woohoo, Hillary, she's one of us." I'm like,
well, that brings back the whole,
no,
Bill
go
Clinton
ahead.
and
I'm sorry.
saxophone. That's
Yeah.
why you playing the saxophone back in those days is to get the black vote. But then you have, the Democrats are weird. Like you could hear there are videos of Hillary talking in a southern drawl for God knows what reason. There's videos of AOC doing the same thing with her clapping hands and talking really slow and trying to I don't know what the hell they're thinking. And I'm sorry, but I would take offense to some. I take offense to her doing that because it's fake. It's not real. It's like, come on, man.
Mm.
Talk like a regular human being that you're talking to regular human beings and provide a fucking policy. Don't just go around trying to give people candy and say, hey, vote for me.
Mm.
No, which is what I think a lot of Democrats do is that they use social programs as the little trick to get get.
But
Mm. You there?
right. And one thing. That's why I said. That's why I like Tulsi Gallup. I'm actually a fan of Tulsi Gallup because she's the only one
Yeah.
I noticed that had not tried to uh uh tried to do
Ender.
do pandering games. She never
Hmm.
when I saw her at a black event, I didn't see her pander. I didn't see her pander at a woman's forum. Even though she
Hmm.
is a woman, I don't hear that girl power shit. She coming here like, look, man, I'm just here trying to run for president. I want to be president because of this, that, and the third. That's all. That's the reason why I like her, and I will vote for her if she stays in the race. She's gonna have my vote. Everybody else in that Democratic field, they can kiss my ass, you
Mm.
know. And I'm gonna say this right now. Mike Bloomberg can go to hell too because how can you talk about freedom and justice and shit when he's one of the main ones that put black men in jail with that stop and
Stop and
frisk
frisk. Yep.
policy when he was mayor of New York, and then like he was trying to overtax people over sodas, and then on top of that, he used what you call it, the intimate domain laws to further uh gentrification. I mean, he did all that stuff. So how is he going to tell me, "Oh, I'm here for the working class man," or "I'm here for the black community"? No.
What wasn't Bloomberg the one that said that they need to tax the poor as much as possible because the poor don't know waste their money. They're buying the wrong things. I think that was
Mm.
said that.
Was he? I'm not sure. I don't know.
Hmm. He got caught, and then his excuse was, "Oh, that tape wasn't supposed to have been recorded. I didn't give them permission to record."
It's just funny, man.
It was
Like,
just like Kamala Harris, when
Yeah.
she first got on the
Yeah.
scene,
He
everything was
was the
yeah.
same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just like with the whole Kamala Harris thing, where when she first got on the scene, everybody was saying, "Oh, you need to vote for her if you're a minority because she's black." And then it came out that what she was keeping black men incarcerated much longer just to use them for their labor. Like,
Yep. And that's why I
oh,
like Tulsi Gabbard.
dropped out. She needs to drop the hell out.
Oh, Kamala already dropped off.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm glad she dropped out because
Oh
it's
yeah,
like, oh,
exactly. Me too. Um, but yeah, man. I mean, it's like I see politics is just it's very entertaining, right? Um, and once you actually start, once you in the path where you're trying to, you have to get involved in this society which you live in, then you have to make more um thoughtful decision on who's gonna dictate policy that will affect you. That's why I think I encourage people to actually start getting involved in local elections as well as because we all for the most part the majority of people focus on the general election, but some of these local elections, they matter as well. And I was when I was younger, I was one of those type that didn't see voting as something important, and till this day I still like I see it as in like I'm still the author of my life. So whether or not someone is elected that I don't like, I will still find a way to actually, take care of myself, my family, and still have the same type of work ethic. Because the only thing that changed for the most part are just the rules. It can be harder to make money or can be easier to make money. But at the end of the day, you still have options to maneuver throughout because whenever you have rules, you also have loopholes. And knowledge is power. So I encourage people to always educate yourself and learn as much as you can about the environment which you live in, the society which you live in, so then therefore you can make better informed decisions.
mhm. I think I think you hit the nail on the head when you said start voting locally because if you study the structure of government in the U.S., the way it was set up was to be mostly focused on state laws. The state itself was supposed to govern themselves, and then when they couldn't, then they go into the federal government. The federal government isn't supposed to have as much power as it has right now, but the reason I think it does is because people stopped paying attention to what was happening to their state and started only paying attention to what was happening to the country.
Hmm. I got a question for you guys. What are your thoughts on the elimination of electoral college?
I'll let I'll let Big J answer that one
Um, uh,
first.
I yeah, I'm for college. The electoral college. See, the problem right now is that is that parties are the issue, not the electoral college. The electoral college is supposed to be a check on on the. I believe that the electoral college is the purpose of the electoral college is to prevent fraud within the it should be the final arbiter before because in case of fraud within the into the elections within those states. That's what I think it should be. Electoral college should be, and if that's that was the intent of the founders in the electoral college. So they were right about it, but the problem electoral college is based upon what the parties want, not what the state itself. I'm talking about the state itself wants, but only what the parties want, and the ideas need to switch right back to what the states want.
Hmm.
Okay. What about you, Siri? What's your opinion on that?
Um. To be honest, I will admit that when I was younger, I didn't understand the concept of the electoral college, so I did have the belief that democracy would make more sense. But that, I said before, I was a leftist up until sometime not too long ago. So, but from the way it has been explained to me, it makes a lot of sense to have it because the big cities and certain states are overpopulated while other states don't really have the majority population. So, and you can't really, you can't do in the rural areas the same laws that you have in New York City. It wouldn't apply, which is why back in the days it used to be state focused, right? Just like Big J said, that the Electoral College was based on the state rather than the party. And I totally agree with that. I think that shouldn't be how it is. I should not have to tell you from New York City what you should do in Dakota. It's like maybe in New York City, the gun laws should be maybe a little bit tighter. That makes sense, right? But when you've got wild beasts trying to eat your cow, you kind of need something to take care of that, right? Logically speaking. So I don't know. I think what's worse is the super delegates are worse than the electoral college. I think the electoral college makes sense. The super delegates, I don't understand. In the party system. Like another reason I don't really understand is why the U.S. only has two parties. And I often wondered that. Like, why is it that when you vote independent, you waste a vote? Supposedly, that always had me curious because I think the two parties have a little bit too much power, and it went a little into their head.
True. But I think also, but once you have like too many parties as well, though, then it creates that chaos to which um anybody who's elected never really actually had a majority. Like if we're looking at the way things are going with let's say in Britain, right? In Britain, a lot of governments, I think since with David Cameron, a lot of the time it was like coalition government. It was like it became
I
like a
think with too
coalition
many
government.
parties, it's even there is even worse because Poland has a lot of parties. Like I think we've got like 10 parties, and the problem that I see happening with too many parties is the same politician. If I won't get elected as a Democrat, I'm just going to switch and create the Liberal Democrats and run in the Liberal Democrats. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to create the Socialist Democrats. Now I'm going to,
Mm-hmm.
and that does happen. So it's always the same assholes revolving around.
Yep.
Just changing positions. That's really all that's happening. And and it's all about, thickening their pockets. So I do see a problem when there is too many parties. I'm just curious to know why in the U.S. that doesn't happen.
Mm.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think the problem was with concerning the two party system in the United States. That was mainly was because of regions. Because the Democratic Party and what was then known as the Federalist Party, that was more of a regional issue. The parties was back then when they was creating the Democratic what now we know as the Democrats and Republicans. The the prototypes, I should say, the prototypes of those two political parties came from regions like, okay, like your John Adams was his party was mainly those who was part of the aristocratic northeast, or Thomas Jefferson side was more of that southern plantation vibe, and that both those two later became the Republicans and Democrats, while like in other countries, those were based upon. Well, I put it like this to you: those 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 other political parties in other countries were based upon interests, um, not based upon regions. That's why that's why the Democratic Party was king of the South for the past 150 years until recently.
Mhm.
So until the election of Kennedy, um, you know that they was king of the South. So the Democratic Party I'm talking about.
Yep.
So it was mostly regional, but if you go to Europe, it looks like they were more interests rather than
Mm.
regional. And plus, on top of that, the Constitution, there was no political party before the Constitution. If you go to Poland or Germany or anywhere in Europe, the political parties existed before there was their own government set up.
Yep.
So that's
Mhm.
why you see a lot more political parties in Europe than there are in Canada and in the United States.
Mhm.
So, do you think in the U.S.
That's how
it's
do I
because
see it. That's how the better
no, that's
understanding
actually
more or less what happened.
based on your explanation. Do you think it's based on regions because the U.S. is so big compared to all the little countries in Europe where they're basically stateside? So it wouldn't make sense for like parties in Poland to be based on region when Poland is so tiny. So do you think maybe it's due to the size of the country?
Mm, I don't know, because um, I see the state is like
Okay, I just put my phone on silent.
you there. Mm. Well, it's like this, right? Like compared to Poland, compared to England, compared to a lot of these countries, the state is very young. Yet at the same time,
Oh yeah,
they were able.
yeah, I'm here. I just put myself on mute to allow you to talk.
Okay, all right, cool. And I think based on you know they were able to learn from the mistakes of past colonial powers, and then therefore they tried to formulate a type of system that would actually work for them in a long term, which is kind of good. Like that's why I really like the U.S. Constitution, and I think it's something that a lot of other countries actually model after that. They
Mm-hmm.
can try to make it their own and whatnot, but it's it will withstand the test of time. Where when a lot of these other countries, especially in Europe, we have a lot of old, very old countries. I mean, dude, the town that we lived in was like what? It's what almost 700 years old now.
It's 671, I think, years
Yeah,
old.
so 671 years old.
Yeah.
So now the state, as far as being founded as a republic, not a democracy, and but I guess a lot of the thing that they did, it kind of makes sense. And they are always, they also there's also room to amend the constitution to add in new provision that would actually be that would make sense in our modern days.
Well, it does give space for that.
Hmm. So yeah. Um. All right. I think I'm about to call it quit, man.
That was
Yeah. It's almost 10 o'clock on your time. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna end this. So hey, art and I am series. I appreciate y'all for coming by and because um, you know
Hey.
I'm glad I came in contact with y'all a couple months ago. Well, you recently, but I was talking to your wife
Yeah, we're
when was
supposed to
that? That was
sleep early.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Cause
this
me and your wife met on the
Hmm.
Dominican channel. Yeah, that's how me and your wife got in
hmm
contact. So yeah.
Yep.
But
Yeah, yeah, she told me.
y'all,
She,
I appreciate y'all too.
yeah, because you guys were supposed to do like a
Yeah.
hangout like a while back, and then that never happened and stuff. So,
Right.
yeah, man.
But
Listen, it
anyway,
was, yeah, it was awesome chatting with you, good man. And finally, it was nice to finally meet you. And then, yeah, it was an awesome hangout, bro.
yeah, it was.
All
I'm gonna get on off of here, and I appreciate y'all for dropping by. Everybody in the chat room, I think y'all for dropping by too. So anyway, we're done, and hopefully we'll come back next time in the near future. So I'm
oh
out,
yeah,
y'all. Peace.
right, all right, sounds good.
bye.
Take care, guys. Peace.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.